Hey y'all. I have a bit of an update. I had therapy a couple days ago, and I've been hesitant to take notes during therapy. I think it's because I haven't taken notes since the beginning, and there's just a part of me of like, if I start taking notes now, is it gonna highlight like the fact that I haven't from the beginning and like create this large amounts of guilt within me for not like starting this from the beginning. It's just a thought process that I sometimes struggle with. Anyways, I decided to take notes this time because I wanted to not forget all of the things Pixie's rubbing her ass on the ground. So I wanted to share some of that, and I'll just jump right into that. I talked about an experience um, of someone showing me this video. At first I was like, I don't know if I want to share the specific experience, but I mean, it happened, and I'm not using specific names or whatever, so I'll just go ahead and do that. Um, a video was shown to me and someone else of this little girl. And before the video was shown, this short video, it was shared like, oh, this little girl's so funny, but I feel bad for her. And me and the other person who it was shown to, we were like, what are we about to see? And it was this little girl. She looked to me to be about the age of 3. And she was saying things like, my mama, like talking like that, my mama is in jail. She got kicked out of Section 8 and her rent was only $7 a month, and like all this ridiculous stuff. And I hated watching it the whole entire time. I felt this disgusting feeling within me, but I was like, it's a short video, let me just let it pass, and like this will be over. And then she was like, there's another video, and she starts playing it, and it's like the same concept, but this time she's talking about her dad, and I couldn't. There was just something inside me that exploded, and I reached over and, well, first I was like, I can't watch this, like I just can't. And then the video kept playing, and I reached over and paused the video. I was like, I can't watch this, like I cannot watch that. And I was like, I do not think that's funny. And I was proud of myself because an earlier version of myself, a previous version of myself, would have just like endured that and then just kind of like dealt with the aftermath on my own, but not to cause discomfort among the people around me. But I didn't care about the discomfort that was being caused because I just did not want to feel that anymore. And I talked about this moment with my therapist, and I was really highlighting the point that like, well, it came up through discussion that allowed me to the discussion allowed me to highlight the point that it wasn't the fact that the girl was in this scenario, because I explained like, this girl doesn't know what she's saying. She's 3 years old. She's repeating what's being told, and she's being recorded. I feel like she's being exploited for views. Like, when she's older and she realizes what she's saying, she's gonna realize like, if that is true, her parents are neglectful. I'm trying to avoid saying bad parents, like to remove the judgment of good and bad and be more specific with what I'm trying to say. They're very neglectful, irresponsible, and just toxic. Like, oh my god, that can lead to so many negative outcomes that can be avoided. And there's so much that can be said about that, but through that, we kind of worked through. Oh, going back to what I was saying, like, I was really trying to make the point that it's not the existence of that bothers me, because I know people are in toxic situations, people suffer, people are abused, but it was more so the reaction to it. Of like, oh, yeah, I left this part out. When I was saying, I don't want to watch this, the person I was watching it with was turned to me and said, because it's child abuse, but was kind of like still smiling and laughing at the video. And I was like, so you understand that this is child abuse and you still think it's funny? Like, what the fuck about this is funny? And I, like, if you seeing me on social media at all or follow me on this, I have a dark sense of humor, like so dark. And it's not about people having a dark sense of humor, because that does bother me. Like, when I've said something dark before in the past and people like try to be woke and like be offended on the behalf of other people who might be offended because they might have experiences pertaining to the joke I made. It's like, fuck you. Like, people have different ways that they cope about things, and this is my way of coping about things. You have no idea what I've been through. So I understand all those exist. So this was more about taking a deeper look within myself to figure out why this particular moment bothered me or affected me the way that it did. And some questions came up was, these are questions that she asked me. Is this feeling familiar? Yes. What did this remind me of? And it reminded me of when I was younger in the past, suffering, reaching out for help, and nothing was really done. And how am I feeling? How was I feeling? I was feeling sad for the girl. Do I like this feeling? No. And then she was saying, I wrote down, she said circadian rhythm, but with behavior. And that really stuck out to me because I liked how she explained that, but I can't quite remember what that was attached to. If it comes to me, I'll expand on that, but if not, I'll leave it as circadian rhythm, but with behavior, I suppose. Do you want to go inside, Pixie? And then I talked about, so that was one thing, and then what I'm about to talk about is something completely different. I mentioned, so I had a list of things that had bothered, well, a list of things that I feel that I can still benefit from working on as like inner work or whatever. And it's, another thing is, when I notice a situation is toxic or like maybe a relationship is dying, I feel as though if I'm more vulnerable, if I were to approach the situation with more vulnerability, that could potentially fix the situation. And I was saying, like, sometimes I think about that for previous relationships, and this is not just romantic, it's just all relationships, relationship types that there are. If I were to, like, I think of, like, you know, people who are no longer in my life, I think of, had I been more vulnerable to them, like when there were problems, like instead of like shutting off or, you know, letting things end the way that they did, if I would have just tried harder at being vulnerable with them, would things be different? And she was saying that for situations that I'm facing currently, or even like if I'm reflecting, just ask myself, can vulnerability help the situation? Like if I'm vulnerable, that wouldn't help the situation. And then she made the distinction of healthy relationship versus toxic relationship. Like if it's a healthy relationship, it will, because it will shine, like it will provide clarity. And, you know, I can't remember how she explained it, but that's what I took away from it. And then toxic relationships is not going to help because the toxic person isn't going to care about that, because they're focused on their needs. And, you know, I mean, that goes into like the reason why they're toxic. It's different for everyone, but basically they're, like on the particular person that I was talking about, they're bitter, and I'm trying to avoid using the word agenda for whatever reason, but like it goes against their agenda to care about you, because you're just kind of like a pawn, you know, you're not like a focal point in their life. So vulnerability isn't gonna have a large impact either way. And then for things in the past, just kind of realizing it's the past and it's over, which brings on the urge to cry. But yeah, with that, she said, can I respond differently in the future? You know, so I don't remain stuck in old habits, or Yeah. And then we talked about books that she recommended. She said The Gifts of Imperfections, Daring Greatly, The Age of Overwhelm, and Trauma Stewardship. I did not write the authors down because I figured it would be easy to find them. But I'm thinking about and will be doing a book club on my YouTube channel on here and share my thoughts on different books. So that'll be fun. And then, yeah, that's really my biggest update from that therapy session. I'm trying to think of a question to ask you all, but I mean, say what you want to in the comments. That's not a question, but it's a request. And I'm okay with that.